You really are a pillar in our community. I know you work with so many professionals who serve seniors, and you're a big part of helping seniors to find their next steps, whether that's a new home or it's downsizing or even community senior living. Can you tell me a little bit about some of that work that you do for the community and especially focusing on seniors?
So let's face it, a lot of times people aren't cheering, yay, I'm going to sell my house. What happens is that, of course, needs change, physically, emotionally, perhaps they've lost spouses. The big part of this is helping them in this transition and helping them with a decision. And that's where I really like to involve, the adult children if I can. Sometimes, to be honest with you, Athena, sometimes the adult children aren't around.
Hello, everyone out there. I'm so excited today to bring Suzanne Rocha here from Calhome Realty. This is just an honor to have this guest. She is amazing, an amazing community leader, and someone who's been in the real estate market for quite some time and has a plethora of knowledge to share with us today. So, Suzanne, thank you for being here today. I'm excited to get to dive into some of the questions that I have, and I'd love for you to share with our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you're contributing to the community around us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Athena. I'm so happy to be here with you today and have the opportunity to kind of share a little bit about, my background, which actually, if we could go back in time. So I actually went to college and I was actually going to be a psychologist. So I went into psychology, went into grad school. So I had my mindset that I was going to, help people get my license and be the best therapist I could be. But then when I got out of college, I got a marketing position, and the bells went off, and I just so loved it. So since that time, I really have been able to implement some of my psychology training and ideas and understanding, behaviors and emotions, fast forward in my career. And so I've had a marketing consulting company for many, many years, and actually in long-term care prior to going into real estate. And so about 20 years ago, I got my broker's license and became an owner of Calhome, and really wanted to implement a kind of infuse something so different into the real estate industry that was really outside of the norm. Because when people think about real estate, it's kind of a lot of cookie cutter thoughts and a lot of pre-programming. Yep. So fast forward, that's kind of like my background. And so I am an owner and broker of a really wonderful boutique real estate firm here in Walnut Creek, but we serve all over the Bay Area.
Yes, I love that. And that makes so much sense with your background in psychology and having experience in long-term care, because you really are a pillar in our community. I know you work with so many professionals who serve seniors, and you're a big part of helping seniors to find their next steps, whether that's a new home or it's downsizing or even community senior living. And so that has always been an interest to me, how someone transitions from real estate into actually serving your community in such a meaningful way. Can you tell me a little bit about some of that work that you do for the community and especially focusing on seniors?
Well, I think when we come to seniors, we have to understand generations, and we have to understand right now what's emerging in the community is a lot of baby boomers who are aging. And as the baby boomers are aging, retiring, they're actually facing some obstacles, to be quite honest with you. Mm-hmm. Some could be affordability, choices or lack of choices, and really trying to find out who to trust, who to partner with in order to make good decisions for their future. So I am involved a lot in the community, in especially my client base. A lot of them are in retirement. I would say at least 60 to 65% of those that I serve and work with are in retirement age or planning for retirement. Yeah. So I involve myself a lot in communities, in churches and different events, and actually find myself entrenched with a lot of resource and referral partners so that I can really offer a lot of resources, not just real estate, but as I say, in real estate, it's really a transition through the transaction that I focus on, which I feel is very different. Other than, oh, let's sell your house, you're off to your next step. But it's guiding that person along the way, and a lot of their needs really require some, referrals and resources to help them so that the process isn't so overwhelming.
Right. And that's really important. I know, when we are retiring and trying to figure out our next steps, or even maybe 10, 20 years down the road, a lot of people are, again, they're downsizing and they're going through this really big transition in life, sometimes by choice, sometimes not. And emotionally, that can be incredibly draining. So having those resources and knowing who to go to and who to trust is really important. Would you say that you involve a lot of the adult children if you're serving a senior that's maybe a little bit more past that retired stage in life and maybe they need a little bit more help and assistance? Do you involve the family?
Yes, I think any type of support system, I think really should be included in a decision. So let's face it, a lot of times people aren't cheering, yay, I'm going to sell my house, yay. A lot of times they've been in the property for 30, 40, 50 years. I get these calls. But what happens is that, of course, needs change, physically, emotionally, perhaps they've lost spouses. And so really the big part of this is helping them in this transition and helping them with a decision. And that's where I really like to involve, the adult children if I can. Sometimes, to be honest with you, Athena, sometimes the adult children aren't around. They're not so much involved. They have their own lives. And that's where I think we need to offer extra support and resources for those people. And what I mean about properties, sometimes a big thing is the stairs. They're going upstairs, throwing things down the stairs so they don't have to carry it. Laundry, everything you can imagine. And that is such an accident waiting to happen. And a lot of times that accident does happen, then which is kind of forcing the, the senior to be able to, make that decision.
Yeah. I know from a senior living standpoint, we do see a lot of our residents who are coming from their home who didn't really plan on moving or transitioning into a senior living community, but they had a fall, or they can't get up the stairs, like you said, or their bathroom is no longer able to accommodate their needs. They need a walk-in shower. They can't step over a lip. So there's so many adjustments that we need as we age. And we don't always think about that until it's actually happening. And we're in that moment or crisis where you need to have a change in fairly immediately, which also brings me to wonder, I feel like we're going through a little bit of a housing crisis, and there's so many boomers right now, right? We have millions of boomers that are just going through a transition where they need to think about that next step. And with this housing crisis, we don't really have a plethora of homes available. We need homes that are more prepared for our boomers. And the cost of housing, the cost of
affordability. Yes.
Affordability. It's just, it's absolutely crazy. So is there any trends that you have seen, the direction that most retirees or boomers are going, or any of the big challenges that you're seeing that is kind of repetitive, which we should be aware of?
Well, I think some of the trends has been, looking really, first of all, point number one, starting by looking at what can they gain out of their property. What would, be the proceeds? Because, okay, if we backtrack a little bit, some of these people, again, have had properties for many, many years and may have equity if they haven't done reverse mortgages. So if they do have equity in a property, then it's almost like you've got to start with the end in mind and then go backwards to figure out, okay, this is what your needs, where your needs are at. This is what it's going to cost. This is what, we have to look at what your options are based on kind of your net proceeds of what's going to happen. So it's a lot of financial planning that I think that I do, especially with a lot of my seniors to help them make good decisions. Whether it be, moving out to a 55 and older, maybe another, single family home or single level, or going into the retirement communities such as, Kensington and Byron Park, because they really need to age in place and they have to have those financial resources to do that. And so I think we're seeing the trends are they want to make a move. Sometimes they have to move out of state for affordability.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. And they have to make those decisions based on, how kind of a forecast. Well, if I'm going to be another 10, 15 years, what's it going to cost me? Because sometimes they don't have those financial support systems in place to help them. And so it's all a lot of times wrapped up in the house on what they're going to get out of the house.
Yeah. And again, kind of going back to our earlier conversation, we talk about being a good partner in our community, having resources and accessibility to resources, really knowing who the go-tos are so that helps enable us to serve our senior community. It's so important to have that because as you're talking about just this simple thought of I need to sell my home or I need to buy a new home that better accommodates where I'm at right now and the future me, there's a lot that goes into that. We're talking about financial planning, maybe even tapping into Social Security, understanding the benefits, understanding how that can help you or go against you, maybe even veteran benefits. So there's a lot of planning, right?
A lot of planning takes place because we have to, again, go at the end to see where they're headed, what their needs are, and then what can we do to get there. Okay. Yeah. So what that may mean is that look at their financial picture. What are the, again, you even mentioned veteran benefits, the VA, or just looking at what's available out there as far as financial options. And a lot of times people can purchase a property using a reverse mortgage so that they don't have to have, payments and that sort of thing. So it's really dialing back and looking all their options, but it really starts with some planning. And a lot of times when selling a property, I'm not of the nature where I'm going to require oftentimes a senior to make a huge investment to get their property ready for the market. Because we oftentimes have to hold on to some of that cash if they have it and to be able to make it really, I'm really focused on, we don't need to stress them out, less of a stressful situation for them. Because oftentimes just the move itself and thinking of the move is enough stress.
Right. And thinking of that stage is when we're moving and downsizing, there are people that can help, right? There's downsizers and organizers.
Organizers, absolutely. And I use them. Yes.
Wonderful. And then there's movers that specialize in working with seniors because there's a lot of the emotions that are happening. So I know you partner with those types of people as well, right?
I really do because they again, they rely on me because they trust me and they're going to trust my referral sources. So who I refer to them is so important that I want to have them have a really good experience. And it's about a good experience versus a stressful experience. And if right now I have a client who's downsizing, actually in Sausalito and is going to be moving to Hawaii. And she's had 30 years of stuff in her house. When we're talking about checks that haven't been shredded for years, boxes of stuff. You can't imagine. She's even admits she's a collector. So she can't take all that with her. So what do we do is that we have to refer her to somebody who's going to help her downsize in paperwork, downsize in items. So it's not just downsizing in a home, but kind of simplifying your life so that it can be more manageable. Because when she called me, she was just so overwhelmed and didn't know what to do, which really delayed her decision-making process. So those referral partners, trusted referral partners, is so key.
Yeah. And you're talking about your clients making a move for quality of living, right? I mean, she's going from Sausalito to Hawaii, which hopefully that's an increase in quality of life. And it sounds like this is the best move for her, but you're right, that could still be very draining to go through that process. Is there clients that well, let me rephrase that. Do you have the ability to support your clients when they're making a move out of state to kind of make connections for them so that it's an easier transition when they're leaving the state?
That's a great question. Absolutely. Because I like to be a part of that so that I can connect with another real estate person and to kind of bridge that gap for them so that they're not fearful, they're have a trusted partner. So in a way, I help a lot of my clients vet the other person that they're going to use.
It's wonderful.
So that I know what's happening here is actually going to be a good transition over there and a good person that's going to help me in making that transition. So I do work quite a bit with other people, other agents, brokers that are out of state on behalf of the senior to help them. I even help them select somebody. I get, different referrals and so that they can speak to them, interview them, or maybe the family interview them as well. So that we have good partners that we work with that are out of state or in other extended communities.
That's great. And I imagine that most of your clients are likely staying locally and you're able to help them with the sale of their home and finding a new home here in this local region in the Bay Area.
Yes, very much so. And again, it all falls back to what can they afford and what do they need? And so for sometimes people, oftentimes think, oh, maybe I'm not ready for a retirement community. Maybe I need to make one more step and maybe go into 55 and older. That's a, larger community that has the pool. I mean, they're still playing pickleball. They're still wanting to do all those things, right? Golf. And they're not quite ready for that.
Yeah.
But we have those that say, I don't want to keep moving. I'm ready to go somewhere, as a retirement community and age in place. So the aging in place process and that decision making is really, really vital in a lot of these seniors' lives right now.
Yeah, I really like the statement you made earlier is I help them by thinking about the end. I'm totally butchering the way that you said this,
No,
but
it is.
You're thinking of the end in mind.
Yeah, you have to keep the end in mind. What's your ultimate goal? Ultimate goal is to feel safe, to feel happy, to feel cared for, to feel like you're not under financial and emotional stress. So how do we backtrack that? And here are the steps that we need to take in order for us to get there for that senior. And so that's what I really thrive, and that's what I just love doing.
You can see the psychology part coming out here. I like that. So if I were coming to you to make a move, this is a local move, but we're going to another city. What are the steps? What would you advise me to do? I'm a senior, and I'm retired and I do want to downsize. So what does that look like for me? I've got, 30 years worth of stuff, which is very common, right? And I need to get rid of a lot of things. And I have savings, but I also need to keep in mind that I'm projecting to live another 20 plus years. And so that needs to last me. And I want to go to a vibrant place, a place where there's other people that are like me around my age, where we can do activities together. I can still have great friendships and have engagement, great activities, but I like my independence. What would you advise for a client? Like, what are those stages look like to sell and to move?
Well, as I always say, it has to be a step-by-step process. And those steps are oftentimes going to be many steps. So what it looks like is sitting down perhaps with myself and really, kind of letting me explain what is out there. What have I seen? What are other examples of seniors who have gone to retirement communities? What have they experienced? And to be able to create a vision for them. Because right now, oftentimes, although they want to make a change, they know they need to make a change, but guess what? There's a lot of fear involved in that.
Yeah.
They feel losses of independence, loss of, I'm not going to be able to go around certain friends right now, or loss of being able to drive, loss of all this. So I actually like to turn that around into, what would you be gaining? You're gaining safety, you're gaining, support systems, you're going to be able to eat better, you're going to be able to have more of a nutritional, meals prep for you. If you're going even into retirement community, you have to give them that picture of, again, what the end result is and what they can look forward to. So Athena, what I like to do is kind of get them excited for it, not fear it.
I like that. And again, that's what we typically see in senior living, particularly, is we see people who are moving when they should have moved a year or two ago, when their mindset was a little bit in a different place, where they're physically in a better place. Because people have a fear, they tend to delay things. And it's really about building the awareness of, what does this move really look like for you? What are the resources that can help you make this very simple and easy? And what are the options out there? There are retirement communities that are amazing nowadays, right? I mean, we've got retirement communities with spas and tennis clubs and golf and just so many different things. And then we've got senior living communities, like you said, like Byron Park and the Kensington, that offer all the things that they can need. And so it's really about quality of life versus, I'm losing my life.
Right. And a lot of that stems from one word or two words or three words: fear of the unknown, whatever words don't count, that is. For the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Fear, it's unknown. And a lot of people have that old image of what, it's an old folks home, or, I'm going there to die. No, you're going there to thrive. You've got to get off of that. You're in an environment right now that's not working for you, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be unhappy somewhere else. You're actually going to be happier, but you have to open your mind and open your heart up. And that's what I like to work with people and that again goes back to the trust factor. And I've never led anyone down a road that I wouldn't send my own family members to.
Yeah.
So it's a trust factor, so that we all age. We're all going to age. We're all going to need different options, such as the retirement communities and then assisted livings, and as things go on. But it's helping them plan so that we can eliminate that fear and have them know that there's a lot of options.
So I think my next question for you would be, thinking about the industry and the market that we're in, and this is a question I think everyone asks real estate agents, because we expect that you're just going to like pull a rabbit out of a hat and know everything. Interest rates, insurances, the market. What do you see happening in the next couple of years? Is there any trends or any kind of forewarnings, especially for our boomers? Should they pause? Should they go? Mm-hmm. What do you think? What's your take on it?
I think what's important is that no one can time a market, because there's a lot of unknown factors that we just don't know about.
Yep.
Look what happened with COVID. Everything stopped, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but it did, with the interest rate drop, it got things moving again. So because I get that question a lot, Athena, it's like, well, should we wait? And I say, without a crystal ball, you still have to move when your needs tell you to move.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the bottom line. So we don't have crystal balls for the interest rates. And by the way, when it comes to interest rates, there's a lot of options for buyers and for sellers to help buyers with, credits, interest rate buy downs, and what have you. So that's all about working with a professional. But I would not get into a scenario where you're trying to time a market, because we just don't know. Because people have to move, people relocate, people's jobs change, people have growing families, people have to downsize, people age, and we can't put our life on hold. And what I call that, Athena, is sitting in the waiting room of life. You're sitting in a waiting room, waiting for something else to help you make your decision. And you know what happens is that something else is going to make your decision and you won't have the control over it. So as I say, you have to plan, you have to work with experts who is going to guide you and tell you of what you need to do in order to accomplish your goals, despite any market. You know, back in 2007, 8, 9, when the short sales were hitting and the market crashed, I was very, very busy because people really needed to make those financial decisions for their future. And I think we're at that point right now. You still need to make good decisions, but I just wouldn't wait. And so you need to take advantage of tools, people's skills in order to help you make those good decisions, because we all have to move at some point.
That is absolutely true. And I just thank you for coming today and sharing your insights, expertise, and just some of the tidbits of information that you have that's going to help us in our next steps. Suzanne, what is the best way for someone to get a hold of you if they're looking to make a move and they have questions, whether this is the right time for them or what the next steps would look like for them?
Well, as I like to say, I'm a very responsive person. So when somebody contacts me, I make sure I make the time to speak with them so they can speak with me directly. You know, my cell number, 925-858-9358. I'm also on, my website at calhomeinfo.com. My Google reviews are out there. You can Google me and see that I, have a lot of experience, a lot of great Google reviews, because I really do care and I've helped a lot of people and I think it shows. So my contact information is out there, but I really love speaking with everyone directly because everyone's situation is unique and different. And it doesn't always fall into a cookie cutter, plan or mindset.
So true. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. Again, we appreciate your insights and we look forward to being able to talk to you again in the future.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Athena.